Most important thing about adjusting a Betterley Coving router is adjusting the various positions in the proper order. So the first thing we want to do is adjust the depth of cut relative to the deck or the countertop. So we take a post-it note, we fold it into thirds, so we'll have 1 layer thick and 2 layers thick. And what we want is to just clear 1 layer between the bit and that surface. So 1 layer is just touching there. 2 layers will definitely catch. So tighten the clamp down on the motor, and always recheck it after you tighten the clamp and keep some downward pressure on the motor. It will usually go down some when you tighten that clamp. And here it's catching quite hard there, so I'm going to back it off slightly. And again, recheck it with some downward pressure. And it's best to turn the bit forward the direction that it would cut. It's a little bit tight still. So it's just catching on 1 layer thick and definitely catching on 2 layers thick. So each layer is about 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch. So we're just giving ourselves a little bit of clearance. The next step is to set the 2 side fences. So the easiest way to adjust them is with a Betterley unigauge. So we zero this out and we just go up against the edge of the fence and rotate the bit until we find the high spot of the bit. Bring that in a little. And there's going to be always one side a little bit higher, real close. And with the dial indicator on the unigauge, you can see exactly where that setting is at as you adjust it. So I want to set that again about 3 or 4 thousandths short. So right there. And then tighten the locking lever on the back of the router for that fence only. If you don't have a unigauge, you can use a straight edge against the fence and eyeball it, or use a piece of paper again to make that adjustment. So set this up against there and look at it, and I can see that I'm a little short. If I take my post-it in there, I'm still not hitting on the post-it. So I loosen the lever and back and start adjusting that and checking it. And I went too far, so I have to back it out some. That's where the indicator becomes in very handy. You can see exactly what you're moving, how much you're moving as you're doing it. That's pretty close to 1 layer thick right there, which is about 3 or 4 thousandths. So I'll lock that down. Now both of my fences are adjusted. Next thing I would want to do is bring my fence stops tight up against the back of the adjusting plates. And what these stops are for, I'll show you in just 1 minute. Bring them up tight to the plate. Tighten them snug against the plate. And then tighten the check nut against there so they can't move. Now if I wanted to make a rough cut with this fence, I could simply loosen this clamping lever, turn the knob to move the fence in so it's not cutting full depth, make my cut. When I'm done with the cut, turn it back until it hits my stop again, and that's preset. The final step is to set the center guide bearing. So take a block or 2 pieces of material flat against the fences and simply pull the bearing up so it's contacting both surfaces at the same time. and tighten the screws down. And that's it. The most important thing is set the depth relative to the countertop first, then both fences, and then the bearing.